Hello and welcome to the last word on Spurs. We do hope you're keeping very, very safe and well. Thank you so much for joining us as Tottenham Hotspur. My word, Tottenham Hotspur. What have we just witnessed? What have we just seen? Spurs with yet another incredible last-minute winner in this Premier League season so far. That keeps on surprising. That keeps on giving us. And we're only, 7, 8 games in? Going to be an incredible show that we bring to you tonight. I'm actually getting tired of saying it's going to be our show of the season. I just keep saying that every single week at the moment under Ange Postecoglou. My God, Angeball, what is it doing to us? Thank you so much for joining us. If you're listening to the show for the first time, you can find us on iTunes. We are on Spotify. We're across all major audio platforms. We're, of course, on X. We're across all the social media. And we are here bringing you that instant reaction to Tottenham Hotspur beating Liverpool 2-1. It never felt like that result was coming to be fair in that final 25 minutes, but Tottenham somehow got there over the line. I'm delighted to say I've got 3 great guests coming back onto this show that are going to dissect, break it down, and try and control themselves on the back of that 96 and a bit minutes. I'm joined by the wonderful Russ Williams, the superb TJ Ramini, and the brilliant Mitch Fretton on this last one on Spurs. Guys, we're going to get straight into it. Russ, I'm going to start with you. It's yet another late show by Ange Postecoglou's Tottenham, who down the 9 men of Liverpool. It looked like the Reds, you would argue, could have held on for a draw. It felt like it was going that way in that final 20 minutes. But Matip's own goal does mean Spurs and Arsenal remain the only sides unbeaten in the Premier League. It was a 100th-minute winner last time. It's 96th-minute winner today. It does feel, Russ, if you agree, something is very special happening at this football club right now.
Well, you're right. And good evening, everybody watching and listening. It does feel a little bit like the stars are aligning. I mean, what I thought at the end of it was, well, that's payback for the Champions League final and the dodgy penalty. And Liverpool have had a lot of luck over the years. And tonight we had a little bit of luck over them. Having said all of that, excuse me, 2 thoughts. Number one, I think it underlined that our squad is quite weak apart from the starting 11. We'll come on to that later, maybe. And secondly, Liverpool are without doubt the best team that we played in the Premier League this season, with 11, with 9. I mean, they are a tremendous football team and they're going to be affected by the red cards. Do we care? No, because we're Spurs fans. But I think we have to say that they are a really good football team. So to get 3 points is great. We're second in the Premier League, but there are 1 or 2 concerns because I thought the last 25 minutes, we huffed and we puffed, but we really didn't look as though we had a lot of ideas and that we didn't know how to play against 10 men or 9 men. And so that's something that will come out in the wash with Ange and the coaching staff, I'm sure. But we got over the line and we got 3 points, and everybody who supports Spurs is absolutely delighted. Other teams have had this sort of luck year after year after year, and we're getting a bit now, and I'm happy with that. I'm well happy. It's bang tidy.
Absolutely. CJ, look, I want to bring you in. Bloody hell. Just when we really thought Spurs were going to have ideas, what an ending. Where was that coming, Spurs? Where was that coming? But look, bearing in mind, we was on the other end of this last season, of course, at Anfield. It is such a sweet feeling, and things do feel so different in this campaign. Another last gasp victory. We saw, obviously, Sheffield United last time out, Liverpool this time. This Postecoglou movement we're seeing, TJ, just keeps on rolling, keeps on moving on. And many will pick up on the fact that I think maybe what was the fear in that last 20 minutes that, you look at the way we played it out. But there's one thing that's changed more than ever with this squad right now, and it is that mentality. It's that never giving up attitude, never settling. And you've got to say to the lads, well done for keep on fighting, right?
Absolutely. Firstly, Rick, thanks for having me back on and in such esteemed company yet again. Listen, we're 7 games in where there's now 2 unbeaten teams in the Premier League, and we're one of them. And what Russ was explaining as well about luck is that, we haven't been a particularly lucky club, certainly in recent history. And if we read into that adage that you sort of create your own luck, there's something really to be said for that. And I think the quality of our football is really starting to pay dividends. Just that kind of rub of the green, like no one can really put their finger on how one acquires that. But I think that by playing the kind of football that we're playing against 11, that's when we were getting the luck. Like that's when it was kind of happening. The wheels did come off when it was 10, and the wheels did come off when it's 9. And I'd be interested to know if teams, if they train for that. If a team does go 1 down or potentially 2 down, would you ever train for that, or does it just become a case of attack against defense? Because the taking the foot off the gas did concern me. However, my prediction, as I said to you, Rick, when we were chatting yesterday, before the show today, my prediction is that Tottenham would win 2-1. And it's taken us 6 years to beat Liverpool, and it took Ange 1 day. Come on, you Spurs.
I love it. Mitch, I saw how excited you was bringing you in. I thought I'd give the man a minute because I can see the beaming smile there. It's going to be an unbelievable show. And look, I've got to say, we'll try and be fair balanced on this show. Liverpool are a top side, and to be fair, we didn't create much when they did go down to 9 men. Many would maybe argue, the neutral would say they deserve the draw. But to win these type of games, Mitch, are absolutely huge. They are absolutely huge. And I think what it will take for us is the fact that we've owed that one for a very, very long time. It does feel in this fixture. So try and sum up for me, Mitch, the feelings right now on the back of yet another last-minute winner, with it being Liverpool, who again will be right up there, you feel, contesting this season. At home, again, another result late on at home. What does that do to the club, to the mood around the camp, to everybody connected with Tottenham?
Look, I mean, well, when you score last-minute winners like that, I think the mood of every single fan of the team that's just won the game is the same, and that's jubilation, regardless of how you've played. And, I'll put my hands up and say that I don't think Spurs were very good tonight. I also think Liverpool played superbly considering the disadvantage they were at. I think they defended as perfectly as they could with 9 men for the last sort of 15, 20 minutes of that game. And I'd say they were more than credit for the draw. At the end of the day, Matip just gets a bit unlucky with sticking his foot out. But games like this do a huge thing to the club, because you come out of that game at 1-1. There's a whole sense of frustration. There's sort of a bit of maybe anger and annoyance because you have a look at the subs comment. You think about what our talking points would have been if we'd have drawn that game. Okay, we looked like we didn't have any ideas. We were just sort of playing it across the edge of the box for a long time. Nothing was really happening. We weren't really testing Alisson too much. The subs that came on towards the end, I think when you bring on Ben Davis and 𝐂𝐨𝐴𝐵𝐿 and 𝐁oiberg and you're pushing to win a game against 9 men, they're not the players that you're going to want to have to turn to be able to try and go and win a game. But having said that, all of that just gets forgotten in the aftermath of this. And I know Ange and the coaching staff won't forget about it. And I think Ange had already said in his press conference that, we didn't have enough variation in our attacking patterns, which is absolutely spot on. And it's really good to see that he spotted that straight away. And it's the first thing that he's spoken about. But I mean, Ricky, I was offered a ticket to the game tonight, and I couldn't go because I was at work earlier on today. So it's a bit annoying, but I can only imagine the sort of jubilation and the scenes that are going on in the concourses at the stadium right now. People singing, having an extra drink. Most people will be staying behind to have an extra drink at the bars after that sort of game and that sort of win. It's just superb to see the club just looking like it can't do anything wrong at the moment. Even when we're playing poorly, we've still gone out and we've still beaten a top team in Liverpool, because I've been really impressed with them this season. I think they're going to probably run City the closest over the course of the season. And we probably would have been in for a very different game if they had 11 men throughout. I think it would have been way more open than it was. I think it definitely wouldn't have finished 1-0. It's just fantastic to see. Up to second in the league, a point off City after 7 games. I don't think is a start that anyone was expecting with Ange coming in. So, again, just really, really happy to see the players feel it as well. You can see that in the scenes on TV after the game, how happy everyone is. And like I'll always say, long may it continue.
Sure, I know there's a lot of talk of what's going on right now. Like I say, we are recording fresh after the game. So right now, as we record, Jurgen Klopp and Ange Postecoglou are holding their respective post-match press conferences. There's a lot of comments out there that I'm definitely going to bring in to this show, but I am going to savour in the fact of the win against Liverpool in the last minute. We don't have it that often. Russ, to come back round to you, look at Tottenham in September: 3 wins, 1 draw, no defeats, 11 goals scored, 6 goals conceded, beating Liverpool for the first time at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I think now it was the first win against Jurgen Klopp in 19 meetings for a manager. That tells you just how far back you have to go for Klopp's, overall record to be defeated at Tottenham. What is this Manager of the Month curse, Russ? Because we've most certainly cracked it, right?
Yeah, well, we would appear to have done so. I think I'm right in saying that Klopp's first game in charge of Liverpool was at the old White Hart Lane, wasn't it, against us, if you remember, and that was a long while ago. Listen, we would have all bitten your hand off, Ricky, if you'd have said, guys, I can tell you now, I am Mystic Ricky. After the Arsenal game and the Liverpool game, we're going to have 4 points. And that's a reality of where we are. We played an awful lot better against Arsenal, against 11 players, different game, different passions. But this Liverpool team, they're quite something. And I think Mitch is absolutely right. They're going to be the ones who will challenge City. So to get 3 points against them with our record against them is absolutely brilliant. Somebody put up a comment, which you've taken down, Rick, which is your prerogative. Of course, it's your show. It was a constipated performance. And I think that's a really good description overall, how for a lot of that second half in particular, we did look a little bit constipated, a little bit out of ideas. And Gary Neville was saying, as I'm sure a lot of our viewers and listeners on the television, why don't they go out wide? Everything is a bit too narrow. And Solomon came on. For me, he doesn't go past the defender enough. He goes so far, Solomon, and then he comes back. At least Decky has a good old go. And usually if we score, he's involved somewhere along the line. So I think going through the middle and narrow was a big mistake. But obviously, Ange, as Mitch was saying in his post-match, has recognised that our attacking play wasn't quite as fluid as it should have been in the circumstances that we were in. But, to win a game, and this was a big, big game in the Premier League, we're only 7 games in, for us to get 3 points at home to Liverpool by hook or by crook, we don't care, actually. And you said, Ricky, I think the neutrals might think that Liverpool were a little bit unlucky. Yes, they were. For once, they were unlucky. And we were lucky. And we'll take it. And it's 3 points, and we're all very happy. But we know, all of us, listening, watching, the panel, you, what the problems are in the playing squad. It's better than last season, but they've got to be addressed if we're really going to push forward under Ange. And he'll know that as well.
Yeah. Can I just let you come back on this, Russ? Because we are going to bring, obviously, Ange's comments into it, as well as Jurgen. That's not stopped talking, I've got to say, since that result. You won't be surprised with what's come out of his mouth. We're going to share that very, very soon. Many, as you picked up on the fact, would have felt that it was a bit of a horrendous performance against 10 and then versus 9. And it just felt out there, Russ. I know you were telling me as we were WhatsApping away to each other that, it might be a bit of a learning curve, this game, because we didn't really know what we were meant to do against the 9 men. There felt a lot of immaturity out there. It felt get the 3 points and run, because it is very hard, I will say, to find those gaps when literally 9 players are literally camped outside the box. And TJ made a great point. Is it the fact that do teams actually train enough for this kind of scenario in games?
No, that was a great question. I think it is a learning curve, and we've learnt again tonight that we're capable of getting the job done, even if we're not playing particularly well. But the whole season under Ange is going to be a learning curve for us, because we welcomed a team to our ground tonight, and everyone around the world was watching on television, who are extremely fluid, extremely skillful, extremely dangerous going forward. Maybe a little bit weak at the back. They've got a brilliant goalkeeper who tries to marshal that defence. And that is what we have got to try and aim to be like. And I think it's entirely possible under Ange, but, it's difficult after 7 games to expect to see that kind of football even flowering in every game, because it's difficult. And I'm sure a lot of our younger players tonight thought, blimey, Klopp, Liverpool, home crowd, it's a big, big test. They're only human beings. But they came through the test in the end. It was a lucky win, but we kept going. And, would we have done that last season? No, we'd have probably lost the game even when they were down to 10 men, I think.
Or 9.
Well, yeah, maybe.
Do you know what?
I
I'll
mean,
make you
it
laugh,
would have
Russ.
been the ultimate Spursy, wouldn't it?
Do you not think if there was ever a team, I'll let you come back on this as well. If there was ever a team that were going to be nine players of well, you say 9 men, obviously against Liverpool with Tottenham would be that team that would go in and lose it. Do you not agree against Liverpool? That would be
well, the old Tottenham, yes, but we've got over the line with another late win, so I think we need to celebrate that.
Absolutely,
and, we definitely have to learn how to play against teams in that situation. There's no doubt about it. And that will be addressed. Everything is looked at to the nth degree, I think, by Ange. He's a very impressive individual. And we won't be in that situation again. You know, I did think, like all of us probably thought, that 1-1 at half-time, on balance, probably fair.
Yep.
Although I'm sure we'll come on to Diaz's goal a little bit later on, what we thought of that when we go through the game. But I did think, you know, it could be 2 or 3 in the second half, but it never materialized for whatever reason. And I think a lot of that is down to our uncertainty on what to do in that situation and the way Liverpool defended, which, whether we like it or not, whatever you think of Liverpool, they did defend really well.
Yeah, I mean, TJ, I will give Liverpool some credit shortly, but I do want to come to you because you did tell me very early on this was going to be the scoreline. You WhatsApped me and told me this was going to happen. You tell me, you know, what do you think this will do to that squad in that changing room? You know, you've had Sheffield United, you won at the last minute. Now Liverpool. What must that do to that squad? Because again, in that last 20 minutes, there were murmurings. You've got to say in that stadium there was, I'd say, a little bit of unhappiness seeing James Maddison come off the field. He was, again, Spurs' most creative player. Sonny coming off. There would have been concerns of the fact where are Spurs going to really find that attacking imprint in that last 20. But like Russ says, we get the job done. Is that really just, again, a real confidence, not only for the players, but for the fans to keep on backing this side? And you said when you were last on here, this is significant of Ange Postecoglou teams. They never, ever, ever give up. And as you say, you know that phrase by now, the mantra, they never, ever stop.
I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth, Rick. You know, the last time that we were on the show together, Russ was on the show as well. And we were talking about, obviously that was 100th minute winner. And I was saying that a friend of mine who's a Celtic fan was saying, that's not luck. That's Ange's DNA. You know, the amount of games that he's won in additional time, like past the 90, is staggering. I don't have those statistics to hand. I'm sure some clever person would probably send them into us. But again, it's such a stark difference to last season. Russ was saying we probably lose that game. We definitely lose that game. I mean, we haven't won that game in 6 years. So the history already tells that story. As to what it does to the squad, they're going to be absolutely jubilant, like Mitch said. Of course they are, and also in the manner in which they got it done. Now, that will also pose as many questions as it does kind of high fives and hugs, because we did look a little toothless or a little constipated against 9. But I think that's where the youth of the team was perhaps to our disadvantage rather than to our advantage. However, I do want to say it's not like we played badly today. You know, like, did we light it up? No. But Vicario, another fantastic game. I would say faultless. A faultless game from Vicario. Sonny looked very busy. I thought Richarlison with Sonny on the pitch on the left, actually, and I'm not a huge Richarlison fan, I think he was offering something. He was causing all sorts of problems. I think it was Gomez who was right back today, causing him all sorts of problems. Couldn't get a hold of him, which was really, really important. Romero, fantastic. Bissouma and Sarr, fantastic. And obviously, Van de Ven, wow. Udogie, wow. I mean, there was a point in the game where Salah was on the ball. And, you know, this is Mo Salah we're talking about. You know, like, the guy's been consistently at the absolute top of the league for what, 6, 7 years? And in comes Udogie and pocketed him. And not only did he pocket him, he did exactly what he did to Saka, which was, if you think you can beat me on your right foot down the line, have at it. Because I know you're going to cut inside and I'm going to pinch it off you all day long. There was a point early on in the game when it was 11 against 11. Salah had the ball on a breakaway. Udogie tracked him down, showed him down the line. Salah tried to turn him. Udogie nicked the ball off him and pinched his wallet and his watch at the same time and strolled off down the left wing like a champ. You know, so let's not undermine the performances that our young players displayed out there. Yes, there were some questionable decisions. Yes, I thought the Diaz goal was onside. The red card from Curtis, 100% a red card. You don't have to have intent in order to get a red card, especially in the modern game. You cannot go in with your studs raised. It was above his ankle. It was that high. Yes, he's rolled over the top of the ball, but bro, don't roll over the top of the ball. Go for the middle or the bottom of the ball, and then you don't endanger your opposition. So yes, it was a contentious game, but this is the most competitive football league in the world. So every single game, you're going to have contentious decisions. I'm just pleased to be on the right side of them for a change.
CJ, I totally agree. I must just give you a heads up that you are currently frozen. It looks like you are currently like the limbs that are currently still in that south stand celebrating that last-minute winner. So I will give you the opportunity if you want, CJ, if you want to give a quick reset on the router, if you want to come back in and come back out so we can see you still celebrating, that'll be amazing.
Okay. Yep, no worries.
We'll see you in a couple of seconds. Mitch, let me come over to you. Because, again, we're going to come on to those comments that have come in from the managers very, very shortly. But there's a lot that's being made of the fact of maybe the substitutions. Now, again, we want to be fair balanced. I think towards the end of that game, the last 20 minutes, there were maybe several questions about how Spurs were, looking to win that game. There was obviously the fact we saw Maddison coming off, Sonny coming off. Now, I do want to say on Son, from what we understand, that he did go back on the bench quite gingerly. So we may get an update from Ange on that in his post-match press conference. But I just want to know from you, Mitch, how you felt in that last 20 minutes with the subs being made there. Is it a completely, utterly, totally different picture if Spurs do draw that game and don't go on to win, in your opinion?
It is, because there's no denying that Son and James Maddison are our two biggest creative outlets. They're the two most likely players that are going to either score or create a goal for Spurs, a winner at least anyway. But I can see why. I mean, Son looked like he couldn't really do much more when he was taken off with sort of 15, 20 minutes to go. So I know that Ange said during the week that Son and Maddison had been sort of nursing little problems, but they should have been fine for the weekend, which they obviously were. And it's a weird one because I'm not doubting that the boys worked hard today in the game, but when you've got so much control and possession of the ball, the idea should be sort of to make the opposition work a little bit more. So yeah, with the someone, I do hope he's okay, but it does look like he might have had a little tweak or a little niggle there with something. But yeah, I agree with your point. I think you're right. I think that if we do draw that game, people naturally are going to turn to what went wrong. And I'll stand by the fact that I don't think the substitutions were massively inspiring. I think I agree. I can't remember if it was Russ or TJ who said it earlier. I think it does show the sort of maybe perhaps little frailties in our squad. And the fact that outside of our starting 11, we're maybe a little bit stretched. I know that we're missing players. All right, I know that Lo Celso's out injured, Bentancur's out injured, Brennan Johnson was missing this weekend. So obviously they're three players that would be able to have quite a big impact on the game. However, what the subs did do is they provided the fresh legs, and they, albeit the players aren't necessarily perhaps the most creative and the most eye-catching and stuff like that, do things differently. They do different things to James Maddison and Son and whoever else it was that come off in Udogie. You bring Ben Davies on, you bring 𝐂𝐈𝐍𝐿 on, whereas before you might have Sarr or Basuma trying to run at people, playing the short passes. You get 𝐂𝐈𝐍𝐿 on in the middle of the park, all of a sudden he's pinging 40-yard balls over to the touchlines, which is what we needed to do in the end. We needed to stay wide and we needed to attack them from those areas because they were so compact with 9 men. So at the end of the day, although perhaps the players themselves aren't maybe the ones you want to have to turn to when you're trailing the game and you want to look for a winner, they did still have an impact, albeit the goal did come from an excellent ball across from Pedro Porro, absolutely put his foot through it, which is good. But yeah, look, I mean, I'm not going to say that we didn't perhaps get a little bit lucky to get the win at the end, because I think we did. And I think that we probably were at our... not at our worst I've seen this season necessarily, but we just looked so devoid of ideas and what the plan was. And of course, again, that can be put down to Liverpool as well. However, I don't want to just sit here and be like, oh, okay, but this, but that, blah, blah, blah. I want to embrace the win and the positivity and the feelings, and emotions come out of it. I am enjoying scrolling through the comments on the YouTube at the moment and seeing all the Liverpool fans that have found their way over here who are having a go at Tottenham. It's not Tottenham's fault. If you want to complain to anyone, write a letter to PGMOL or the referees or whoever it is,
Well, can I just say that, Mitch? You've just given me the perfect segue into the next part of the show. Now, again, I have to remind people we are recording live here. Somebody will ask, why did we not start with this? So, as we record 20 minutes or 25 minutes in here, Russ, to come around to you, had some breaking news come through directly from the PGMOL, who have said PGMOL acknowledged significant human error during Tottenham Hotspur v Liverpool. The goal by Luis Diaz was disallowed for offside by the on-field team of match officials. This was a clear and obvious factual error and should have resulted in the goal being awarded through VAR intervention. However, the VAR failed to intervene. PGMOL will conduct a full review into the circumstances which led to that error. And I will just politely say in response to that, Russ, can you go back and remind me of the Sissoko handball in the Champions League final?
Well, yeah.
Which, again, was very subjective. And, again, at the time, many would have felt was 50-50. Is it just a case, Russ, that on this occasion Spurs are rightly getting maybe what's owed to them in terms of a bit of a rub of the green?
Well, yeah, there is an element, I think, of the God of football, gives you something occasionally. I think more disturbing is that VAR this season across the board has not been particularly good. It's got some decisions right, but it almost feels that every weekend, there's some sort of apology issued about a decision that was made to a club in the Premier League. And I do think that the Diaz goal was definitely onside. Why didn't they draw the lines on the screen? And to me, it's absolutely bonkers because we could all see, if you're watching on television, maybe in the stadium, that he was onside. And actually, what a bloody good finish it was as well. But, you ride your luck in football, I suppose. But I didn't think the referee overall was great tonight. I thought that the first red card, like TJ said, was a red card. But Jota's first yellow, I don't think he even touched Udogie. And he got a yellow. The second one was a stupid tackle. And he deserved a yellow for that. So I'm sure Klopp will be talking about that. But it is a worry that VAR and the standard of officiating in the greatest league in the world, where there's so much at stake, not least money, huge amounts of money that's invested into it, that they keep having to admit more regularly than any of us would want that the decisions are wrong and human error. It's just as infuriating for me as when you get a decision and they're rolling the tape back, and it's if you can't tell whether it is within 30 seconds a clear and obvious error, then get on with the game. That's how I see it. None of this 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes. It's nonsense in this league. It's, and they do seem to do it in the Champions League, for example, and the Europa League a lot more efficiently than we do. And so I think Howard Webb has got a bit of work to do, really. It's all very well making fascinating little programs, letting us hear the conversation. That was great in VAR instances. But I think we are absolutely getting to the time where, just like rugby and other sports, we have to hear the conversations. There has to be transparency, because none of these officials ever have to face the music and talk to the media when they've been, good, bad, or indifferent. And I think they should do.
Yeah, I've got to say, it's a lovely feeling when it's not us on the resulting end of the poor decisions.
Yeah,
TJ, bring you in. I've got to bring you in, TJ. Look, we are going to go straight to the post-match comments because, again, look, with Klopp involved, they're always explosive and they're blockbuster. He said, I've never seen a more unfair game. And as Russ alluded to there, he said, why did they not draw the lines on the basis of that goal, of course, which we now know from the PGMOL should have stood. He said, for you, it's funny. For me, it's just expensive when asked to comment on the game, because you can imagine, of course, what that might cost him with his comments. James Maddison actually said on the 2 red cards, I'm not sure Jurgen will complain too much about those two. I think more in jest and sarcasm than actually realism of those. But the main one that's come out so far of the press, and of course, we'll keep bringing these in. He said, this is actually to the audience of the post-match press conference, the journalists, the red card for Curtis, I'm sure most people in this room think it was a clear red card. I didn't, but then I played football, and most people in this room probably didn't. He's got such a way with words, doesn't he, Jurgen Klopp? You know, I've got to say, he's not a man you would want to speak to after a defeat. What do you make of him overall, TJ? Look, he's not a great loser. We'll come on to some of the things as well, because I've got some that I'm going to show for the watching audience here and to get those thoughts on them. But, I mean, overall, should he be disappointed today, the way in that result has panned out? I mean, thoughts on it for you?
I mean, for a start, I would like to have a conversation with Klopp after a loss. I think it would be really entertaining. And also, listen, if any of us had a penny for every time that, you know, Klopp was outraged and said this is the worst, or I have never, or any of such hyperbole, it's like those competition shows on TV, like, you know, whether it's cooks or singers or, you know, whatever it is, bakers, whatever it is. There's always that point where the judges go, I think this is the best season we've ever had every season, 25 seasons in, or, you know, whatever it is. And so I'm not going to put any kind of weight or credence on what Jurgen Klopp has to say after a defeat. I have to say, I do find him entertaining. I like him as a personality, and I'm glad that he's in the Premier League. And listen, you know, obviously a highly accomplished and, you know, very technical and skilled manager. But I don't think we need to dwell on what he's said. Again, all of us, hand on heart, would say I thought a lot of the decisions that were made today were wrong. However, one of the chaps on the comments, I think he's called 𝐂𝐮𝐽𝐾𝐬 or MJ Spurs or something, was saying, listen, you know, this is every week and every club, and he's right. It's actually every single game. So of course, a lot of people are saying, well, you know, the Sissoko thing in 2019, we don't have to go anywhere near that far back. I understand, because it's Liverpool, you know, in a very important game, you know, Champions League final doesn't actually get more important than that. But terrible decisions are made every single game, no matter which club you are. So when people say, oh, these guys always get the decisions, or these guys always get the decisions, I mean, listen, you know, Mark Clattenburg came out and said when Fergie was at United, we did give favourable decisions to Manchester United. So unless it's as cut and dry as that, people are always going to feel aggrieved, or people are always going to feel relieved. And on this occasion, we're in the latter. I mean, what about that penalty for Sonny? It's clear. Was that the Sheffield United game? Was that the last time we were on?
He's had a couple of seasons where you feel they've been subjective and could have been a decision there. Yeah,
it's clear as day. Yep. You know, and we see them all the time. And like Russ was saying, how is this so difficult to point out? Again, if what we're trying to judge is clear and obvious, it shouldn't take more than about 30 seconds. And last time we were on, we were talking about a shot clock for, you know, trying to curb time wasting. You know, when the ball goes dead, a clock counts down, and if you're in gross violation of that, then, you know, maybe a yellow card or something. But, you know, why don't we have a countdown for the VAR? If we're going to implement so much technology into the game, and I know a lot of people are saying we should have less technology, not more technology, VAR isn't going anywhere. And so we have to accept that and improve it, because what we have right now, no matter if you're a Tottenham fan, a Liverpool fan, a Manchester United, Chelsea, Arsenal, Aston Villa, whoever it is that you follow, you are going to have at least 3 decisions per game that you are going to go, I've no idea how they made that decision. So for me, as a football fan first and a Tottenham fan, improve the system of VAR, make it more efficient. And if the people who are looking at the monitors haven't played the game, get some people in who've played the game.
Yeah.
You know what, Rick? The points we've got today could be the points that gets in the top 4.
Of course, yeah,
for
of course.
example.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're all going to take that. But the other side of the coin is, last game of the season, Burnley need to win, let's say, for argument's sake, to stay up. They're in exactly that situation. Score a goal that could ensure that they stay in the Premier League, right? And it's offside and not checked and human error. Sooner or later, PGMOL are going to be in big trouble with a big situation that's going to cost a club big time, whether it be at the top, whether it be at the bottom.
I do agree. I do. I mean, look, Mitch, I'll let you finish off on Jurgen's comments, because I think we'll get any more after this section. He did go on to say, as I think, look, many wouldn't have been surprised. When you see the offside goal back, it's really clear that it's on. Nobody did it on purpose. Whatever I just say here just does tend to create the headlines. He went on to say it's really not important what I think, because it won't change anything in the game in real time, but we judge it in slow motion. Again, look, we've taken, obviously, our side out of it. You know, I've got to say, I do take some pleasure from it. I don't know if you agree, Mitch. We've had times where we've had so many things go against us down the years, whether it be from, handball, penalties. It's quite nice that we do get the rub of the green at a time in which I do feel, Mitch, this season, again, this is why it just feels so different right now. I'm not saying that we should, relish in the fact that we're having all these things go our way, but I do feel in football that you do also make your own luck. Do you agree with that, Mitch?
Yeah, you do. Look, we've been on the end of some really bad VAR decisions over the past few years. It happens to every club. It happened to Liverpool today. Okay, like I sympathise with the fans who are rightfully angry at the PGMOL because it was clearly onside and they didn't do it properly. Fair enough. They should have been 1-0 up in the game. It should have counted. It's as simple as that. But did anyone ask Jurgen Klopp what he thought of the foul given on Udogie that led to Liverpool scoring their first goal? Because I would argue that was an error from the referee on his behalf to give the free kick, and they scored from it. So, look, things happen in games of football. It's very marginal, and at the top level, things are so tight that decisions are given wrongly in every single game in the Premier League. If you were to look through 90 minutes of every single Premier League game that was played today, you'd be able to find errors from the refereeing team, and that's the way that it is. Spurs have been very sort of unlucky with things that happen over the last couple of seasons. Like I've already said, you're right. I think this season it looks like it's changing a little bit, and you do create your own luck. And I think that the positivity breeds more positivity. The fact that although Liverpool were 9 men down to 9 men, the relentless pressure that we were putting on them and the attack after attack after attack, just chipping away at their defence, that's ultimately what led to the goal. If Liverpool hadn't lost that game, their fans would probably be quite happy because although they were shafted by the officiating team, they were really good and they would have got a point that would have been, quite big for them considering the disadvantage that they were at. But, the fact that we've scored that last minute winner, it's a killer for them and they're rightfully angry. And Spurs did get lucky today. I've already said we weren't at our best. And it's a different game against 11 men. But, there will be another game this season where we get shafted by a VAR decision. And it will happen naturally. You've got penalties and you've got, offsides that are the marginally tight and you don't know whether the lines are quite correct. There'll be a silly red card somewhere that maybe isn't a red card. And by the way, can I just say that, that 𝐂𝐻𝐾𝐧𝐭 red card is a red card. Like, come on. You're just looking for something. It's ridiculous. The letter, I think it was Andros Townsend who's on the punditry team for Sky Sports tonight. He said the letter of the law states that it is a red card. He doesn't think it should be, and you can have your opinion on that, but it is a red card. And the Jota one as well. Be angry at Diogo Jota because he's the one that made that silly challenge when he was already on a yellow card, regardless as to whether the first tackle was a yellow card or not.
And what needs to happen to Basuma there for nobody to argue that it's a red card? It was forceful. No, he wasn't out of control because he wasn't far enough away from the ball, but he's lunged for the ball very high, studs showing, missed the ball, rolled over it, bounced off the ball and clattered against, if this is his foot and this is he's hit him like right there. The fact that Basuma managed to kind of shake it off, but he looked wobbly for a good 5 to 10 minutes after he came back on. Of course, that's a red card. It's people out there thinking, well, I'm well hard me. That wouldn't put great. Go and be hard down at the pub. This is professional sport. These guys are trained to within an inch of their lives. They're like thoroughbreds. Like we saw with Brennan Johnson last week. Nothing happened. He's fit as a fiddle. How old is he? 20, 21? And he's just running for the ball and boom, he tweaks something and he's gone because you train them to the limit. And so something like that, if that does he have to break his leg for everybody to go, yes, red card? Preposterous that people are even arguing. It has nothing to do with intent. It's like with handball now in the area. Do you think that Romero intended to keep the ball out of the goal against Arsenal with his hand? No, he's lunged for the ball. And when you lunge yourself forward, human beings are going to put their arms in the air to offer themselves balance. And also, if you fall on your back, it's going to protect your head. That's why our arms automatically go up. But it hit his hand. Correct decision, 100% a penalty against us, against our bitterest rivals. And we don't argue that. Intent has nothing to do with the letter of the law. Sorry.
Incidentally, last weekend, 𝐂𝐤𝐴𝐷𝐸 on Vicario.
Oh, mate.
They all said, oh, if there was the slightest bit of contact with Vicario's leg there, Nketiah's off. Okay.
Yeah.
So there is contact with the leg tonight from Curtis Jones. Gary Neville says, oh, I'm not sure that's a red card. I mean, Gary, you can't have it both ways,
No, you can't.
It's fishing for attention as well, Russ. I'll just say something contentious. I'll say something against the consensus to have people mention Gary Neville. It's an opportunity to remain relevant, in my opinion.
Mitch, let me quickly you come back in there as well, Mitch. Come back in there for us.
Fantastic. But as a pundit, some questionable comments.
I was just saying, to add on to that point, what did Jurgen Klopp say? I didn't think it was red, but again, I played football. Most people in this room didn't. Gary Neville played football, but some of his takes and punditry is a little bit wild. So he said that it wasn't a red card there today, but like I said, he was arguing for the Nketiah one last weekend.
Also, mate, when did you play football? When it was in black and white and people wore hobnail boots and smoking fags at half time.
Listen, what we are going to do,
with a donkey jacket on and your flat cap, and the manager says you might have to get out there. Okay, I'll just finish that, and I'll be out there.
What we are going to do, because I know PGMOO and VAR are going to do round the show, we are going to go for our first break of the show from our listeners and audio. We've not been over from Ange Postecoglou yet. Same as his first break of the show, you are going to hear from Big Ange on our audio feed. Again, thank you so much. We've got over 4,500 of you watching us live. I've got a feeling we've got just as many Liverpool fans as there are Spurs fans. So, look, I hope Liverpool fans are enjoying it. That's all I could say. It's a win for Tottenham today. Tremendous win. We're joined by the wonderful Russ Williams, the brilliant TJ Ramini, and the superb Mitch Fretton on this last one on Spurs, who are, look, can I just say the words? Celebrating in the fact of a 2-1 win against Liverpool. Doesn't happen often. Why can't we enjoy it? You are going to hear, we are going to bring into this show, of course, Ange Postecoglou's comments, which I think at the moment are being overshadowed by Jurgen Klopp. You can probably still hear him in the auditorium as he gives his post-match press conference. Russ, I will come back round to you, but before I do, a little bit of housekeeping, because I only got carried away there. Last one on Spurs, as you guys will know, we are absolutely delighted to reach the finals of the Football Content Awards. We are finalists. So if you guys can now help us bring this trophy home, you can do that by going to footballcontent.com, voting, and then last word on Spurs, under Beck's podcast. Give us a vote, please. Would mean a lot to us, and it's wonderful panel and team that you see regularly on here quite a lot this season. They give up so much of their spare time to come on and talk all things Tottenham. I can say, thankfully, they're getting some just desserts on the back of last season where things are a lot more enjoyable this time around. Again, thank you so much for your time. We are going to dive into the starting lineup for this one, and we'll bring in Andy's comments as they come through to us. Russ, that team today is always broken down by the wonderful 𝐂𝐤𝐳𝐭𝐞𝐳𝐭 goal for us. It was confirmed beforehand that Spurs would have to make the one change after Brennan Johnson suffered that hamstring injury during that draw at the Emirates. It meant Richarlison took the place of the former Nottingham Forest man. And, of course, we had confirmation before the game. Son Heung-min was available to play and James Maddison both back in training before this one. So it meant the Brazilian played on the left-hand side of that front three. Ashley Phillips came on to the bench in place of Eric Dyer, who was ill. There was also a first place on the bench for Academy starlet Jamie Donnelly, who's been absolutely superb, I've got to say, this season with 3 goals and 7 assists in his 6 matches for the under-21 so far this campaign. And the 18-year-old has been training with the first team this week and has now, rightly so, been that spot on that bench, which does send a really clear message to other Academy players looking to make that step up, that if they perform well, there's a great chance they might be in and around that squad. So that team red, Vicario, Porro, Romero, Van der Ven, Sarr, Basuma, Maddison, Kulusevski, Son, Richarlison, with a bench of Forster, Davis, Emerson, Phillips, 𝐂𝐤𝐳𝐭𝐞𝐳𝐿, Skip, Solomon, Donnelly, 𝐂𝐤𝐳𝐿𝐴𝐻. Russ, team when it came out, what were your thoughts?
Well, I thought it was exactly the team that I was hoping that we were going to start with. And my initial thought was, let's hope that they can stay on for 90 minutes, this lot, because the bench, as we know, I mean, it's great to see academy players coming through, and that is part now of the progression under Big Ange, that we're going to be doing much more than we used to, which is great. So forget about cryptocurrency, Tottenham. Just get on with bringing brilliant young players that can play eventually in the first team. You know, we weren't at our best today, but I don't think any of us would have picked a different team than that. We would have thought, you know, we're up against Liverpool. That's our best 11 as is, save for Bentancur and Brennan Johnson, of course, who are both injured. Bentancur, long-term injury. So my overriding thought was, yep, that's a good starting 11. I think we got a pretty decent chance of getting something out of the game, whether that's a win or a draw. I didn't think we'd lose. And, the concern was with the bench because, I've said it many, many times, the likes of 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐭𝐞𝐧𝐭, Ben Davis, they need to move on now because we are not going to go to the next level with those sort of players. We've got to spend some more money in January, fire up the academy like they're doing now, and go a slightly different route. But they came on, and credit to them. They did, have a really good sort of last 10, 15 minutes, and we got the win in the fashion that we did. But if we're all realistic, the bench is where the problem is at the moment. The second half for me underlined that our squad depth is an issue at this football club still. It might not be as much as it was, but it is still an issue. And I think anybody who doesn't think that that is the case, obviously they're entitled to their opinion. I think that they would be slightly delusional because, if you watch a lot of football, if you've played football, if you know about football, all of us as Spurs fans will fall into the category that I've just mentioned in one way or another. You don't have to be Einstein to work out that actually it's the truth. There's certain players, they've run their course at the club. Whether you can get rid of them or not, another discussion, not really going in the right direction for our discussion tonight. But I think it does make you, when you look at the bench, just go, we've got quite a lot of work to do.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. I think that is really, really fair. I think, again, if you watch that last 25 minutes, barring the last 30 seconds when we got the winner, there was a lot of frustration, which we are going to come on to during this show for sure. Look, we have already kind of overviewed that decision from the referee in terms of obviously that red card, which I am going to actually show that on the screen here for our viewing audience. Because again, I think as a still image, it does look pretty horrific. So I am going to show it in a second, but I do also want to mention the fact that 𝐁𝐸 have a really good double stop very early on to deny Gakpo, and then a better one to save Robertson's follow-up as the fans sung his name. I've got to say, what a signing he has been, Vicario. Just when you think 16 to 17 million, what a signing he's been. I'll give everyone the opportunity just to kind of give their thoughts on the red card. I think we all felt, this is the first one, by the way, not the second one. I think we all were kind of on the same picture, but talk about pictures. I'm going to share it here on the screen here. Now, when you see that image, and that's for our watching audience, which does show Curtis Jones crunching into Bissouma with his foot. It's above, obviously, you'd say, ankle height. Russ, I'll come to you because referee Simon Hooper, he initially gave it as a yellow before the use of VAR's pitchside monitor saw it upgraded to a red. And those will see it. Look, his boot connected so high up the side of Bissouma's lower leg. The crowd made their feelings known with a will. At the time, it was actually displayed in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Having reviewed it again, Russ, in that still image, what's your thoughts on it for you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was a red card, 100%, because you look at that and you just think Biss is lucky that he hasn't got a broken ankle or a broken shin. What is questionable is what a lot of clubs are starting to do now in the Premier League is show to the stadium videotape of the tackle afterwards. And I think that creates quite a hostile atmosphere one way or another. It's slightly provocative, that is. So I'm not sure whether that is a way to go, but there's no question that, Curtis Jones did not go in with any form of malice. He's not that kind of player. He's a brilliant young player, but that was a mistake. And his foot, I know his foot went over the top of the ball and into Biss above the ankle. And Gary Neville was, Frank's eye bottom. He was saying, I don't think it's a penalty. No,
his words were, no,
but it is
no,
a penalty. It is. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I'm thinking, Gary, what are you on about?
But is he meant to remain impartial, Russ? The no, you can't do that. You can't do that. Is that right? Should he be doing that?
No, because it's,
he was celebrating equaliser against Arsenal before,
isn't he?
True, exactly.
Gary, have a look at this angle. Gary, no, that's not a penalty. Yeah, come on, Gary. I mean, I respect Gary as a pundit, as an ex-football player, not so much as a coach, for obvious reasons. But he knows football, and he knows that's a red card. So quite why he said what he said, I don't know. It didn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, TJ, to come around to you very quickly on it. Look, he may not have done it intentionally, but when you steal the image there, it is dangerous, and you would argue it is reckless, right?
Of course it is. And like you said, Rick, listen, we've gone over and over and over and over on this. In most people's opinions, certainly the opinion of this panel and most of the people that I've seen on social media and most of the pundits, are going to agree that it's a red card. We're also going to agree there's no intent. He's not trying to hurt an opposing player. Of course he isn't. What was interesting as well, Russ, is, when you were saying he's not that kind of player, and he isn't. Can you imagine if that was somebody who might have the reputation as being that kind of player? Hashtag Romero. If that was Romero and Salah, he's not only a straight red card, and everyone on earth is saying that's a red card, but they're also then going to imply intent. And so the thing is that, look, man, for me, Rick, I'm done with this. This is last word on Spurs, not last word on VAR. And so,
or Liverpool,
or Liverpool, mate.
Yeah.
And again, it's nothing to do with Liverpool. There's bad decisions made against every single team, every single game. Every single game. Did the referee get every decision right for Tottenham today? No, he didn't. I understand that football is emotional. I'm emotional now, right? I'm an emotional guy. However, you can't just continue to point the finger, well, this decision, this decision, this decision, this decision. What happens within 90 minutes or 100 minutes or whatever? Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. That's life, man. So, let's move on. It's a red card. They lost the game. Questionable decisions. Sure. Did they play great? No. Did we play great? No. But we won. End of. Done.
I agree. I do agree totally on that. Look, again, I'll make that point. As we said, Mitch, many will feel calmer. That had been coming, after, you've got to be honest, it wasn't too long ago. Robertson did exactly the same thing to a Spurs player and nothing had been coming. So there'll be that argument. Before we come on to the goal, we have now heard from Ange Postecoglou in press conference. He says, Mitch, coming to you, when we talk about the opening goal, I have not given us a target. If I had goals and dreams, then I would have surpassed them 15 years ago. My thing is keep everything improving and see where it takes us. Do you not love the fact, Mitch, I've got to ask you this, do you not love the fact that we're not having a manager double downing, telling us how to feel, telling us what we should be aiming for, what the target should be, just letting us dream, letting us believe in what I think is going to be a very, very exciting season, which I have quite frankly not stopped smiling. And that is despite the fact Spurs going out the Carabao Cup, might I add. And many people closer to me know how much the Carabao Cup means to me. Mitch, how do you feel about those comments from Ange Postecoglou?
Yeah, I mean, he's always very measured in the words that he puts out, isn't he, in the press. And I think he's right again. I think the stance that he's taken and saying to the fans, look, you dream, you believe, you do what you need to do, you get yourselves ahead of everything and enjoy the wins and the goals as they come is absolutely brilliant. Look, he and the players will have had a chat and they would have outlined serious expectations. And the great thing, I should say, about this season is that the expectations aren't even going to be massive. And I think that's partly what is helping us at the moment. I think the fact that, we've had a new manager in, we're playing a completely different system. We've signed new players and things are sort of building and at the infancy of what the overall picture of Ange Postecoglou's Tottenham is going to look like. I think that it's all just working in harmony at the moment and everything is just going right. And I mean, we're going to see how Ange deals with the tough times and when we do lose the games that we should win. And when we lose to our big rivals, which, inevitably is going to happen with how many we have these days, because everybody, seems to hate little old Tottenham for some reason. But I think, again, the way he approaches things with the fans is perfect. With Antonio Conte over the last couple of seasons, things started out brilliantly. He very much engaged the fans while he was on the touchline and while games were being played. He's very much G'ing up the crowd. He was so emotive in his celebrations and his frustrations when things weren't particularly going well. But then when he sat down in the press room and the media room afterwards, everything always seemed to have sort of a negative vibe to it, if you will. And I'm not getting that with Ange at all. Even when we lose a game or we drop points in a game, Ange manages to find the words to not justify it, but to calm everyone down and to keep people on side. And I just think he's so measured with how he talks and how he acts and how he puts himself about. Obviously, he'll celebrate those sorts of moments where you're scoring a winner right at the death against one of the best teams, in Europe probably. But you're not going to see him sprinting down the touchline with the fans and stuff, because it's not the sort of manager that he is. And I quite like that about him. Just because he represents
the touchline, he wouldn't be Big Ange, would he?
Oh yeah, that's true. He represents the the calm, composed side of Tottenham at the moment. And I think also at the same time, he probably isn't completely satisfied with where we are at the moment. Yes, we're winning games. Yes, we're 7 games in and we haven't lost in the Premier League yet. But I can guarantee you that there are so many things that he still thinks that we can do better. And the players will share that mentality. So, yeah, just the whole thing at the moment is so good. And with Ange in particular, I can't say a bad word about him. He's not done anything to wind me up. Even when he makes substitutes, I sit there and say, what's he doing that? What's Oliver Skip?
Be honest, Mitch. Now, be honest with me. The 9 changed at Fulham. Be honest with me. The 9 changed at Fulham.
Yeah, fair enough.
You've got to let it go, Rick.
I think
I've got to let it go. You're right, Russ. I've got to let it go. I've got to let it go. Yeah. Sorry,
any manager would make changes in the cup, though. I mean, Man City fans were probably annoyed at Pep Guardiola for the changes he made in the Carabao Cup at midweek, and they lost. It's the same situation, I guess, with it. And Ange justified it quite well, I thought. I think although we were all annoyed by the defeat, he said, look, I'm trying to figure my squad out still. I need to know which players I can trust. And I think since then, he's had a great idea. And the players that have come onto the pitch as substitutes, I think have all had a positive impact. So, like I said, the whole thing's at its infancy and Ange is aware of that. And he will let fans get carried away and celebrate and he will enjoy that and carry the good vibes for as long as he can. But, there's still so much more to come from this squad and this team and Ange in particular. We haven't seen Angeball at its top best level yet, which is perhaps the most exciting thing about the club at the moment.
Mitch, I think that is the most exciting thing. The fact that we're yet to really even see the full potential of this Spurs side. How can you not be excited? Obviously, subsequently after we saw that red card for Curtis Jones, then came the next Liverpool talking point, which of course, as we've already discussed, and we're not going to go through it anymore on this show, Diaz running onto a centre pass, fired the ball into the net, the flag went up for VAR. Obviously, since then, if anyone's been joining us right now on the show, we have obviously heard from the PGMOL that have confirmed that goal should have stood and it has just been an error. And just to say on that said, no form of technology is going to make the game errorless. The game is littered with historical refereeing decisions that weren't right. People think VAR is going to be errorless, but there's so little in the game that is factual. He went on to say people are going to make mistakes and the bar is raised even higher. I do want to ask you a question, Russ, separate to this. And the fact, look, we've got 4 points out of the last 2 games, which, look, again, if we were having this conversation 25 minutes before that game had ended, it would have been 2 points from 6. It would have been a completely different mood on this show. And we're aware of that. That 30 seconds difference completely changes the complexity and the nature of how this show goes, and we don't stop smiling. So can we still, Russ, remain under some form of a radar if we carry on like this?
No, of course we can't. We're second in the Premier League behind Manchester City. And incidentally, just to go back to what Mitch was saying about the Carabao Cup, I don't think it is the same as Man City because they can afford to be out of the Carabao Cup because they know they're probably going to win the Premier League and maybe the Champions League. For us, it's about trying to win a trophy for the first time in years. And that, I think that's why it upset a lot of people, that performance, including, of course, Your Majesty, you, Rick. So I don't think you can compare us in any way, shape or form to a lot of clubs in the Premier League who put out weakened teams. We should be going for it. But anyway, we move on from that. The points haul from these 2 games, I think we should have won at Arsenal. They were there for the taking, but we didn't. We got a draw and we were all secretly quite happy. Today, we thought that we probably could get something out of the Liverpool game and with the support of the brilliant fans again and the trumpeter at the beginning. I mean, it's just amazing now in the stadium, isn't it? The fans were brilliant back in the team, but we were constipated, which is a lovely description from one of our viewers a little bit earlier on in the second half. And look, we got the job done and we're all happy. And Ange knows exactly, the rub of the green and what it means in professional football and the ups and the downs. And I don't think, I could be wrong, Rick, and the rest of the guys and listeners, if we lost 3 games on the spin, I don't think any one of our fans would doubt Ange. They'd just go, well, we're learning,
I don't know, Russ, when I saw that last 25 minutes and a lot of comments on social
really?
media. Honestly,
but you can't be ruled by social media, Rick.
You're right, I shouldn't be.
It's a marshmallow world.
I was sitting there, people thinking, is this guy losing his mind? We're losing. Madison's taking off. Sonny's coming off. What's going on here?
Yeah, there was that. But I saw that and we all went,
it's
and
squad depth.
Yeah.
You know, what do you want him to do? We needed to do something. We looked stale, right? Or you looked constipated.
You're spot on, TJ.
That's the word of the show. We were. And so he has to do something. And if you turn around and you don't have Perisic, you don't have Bentancur, you know, you don't have, I mean, listen, man, I think that Brian Hill under Ange could do something for us.
Agreed.
Again, like if you look at how Ange has, in such a short space of time, again, Russ and Rick, we were talking last time about how he has transformed Pedro Porro, you know, transformed him. I mean, Udogie has just come in and been like, wow, you know, you're a Premier League ready player straight away. I think also we have to take our hats off to Kulu today. I know people are saying he's predictable and he is going to cut in on his left foot and everything, but he can take people on the right as well. And there were so many times that he was doubled, if not tripled today. And sometimes he would come out with the ball. And if he didn't, God, he's a warrior. He absolutely battled his way through. That's so important for us, man, to be that combative, wide outlet. I actually thought that was part of the problem. Again, Russ was talking about Solomon. Like, Solomon doesn't really try to beat his man. He's a bit kind of like Aaron Lennon back in the day. He's so quick. I'll just tap it on with the outside of my foot and just kind of run down the line. But if there's nothing that follows that, then it's a bit of a moot point. And so, you know, again, we're getting hammered with all this VAR stuff and the referee this and listen, man, we won the game. We won the game. And I think it's really important that we, as, you know, pundits on a football show and Tottenham fans, just take the time to appreciate the effort that our boys have put in today to beat, like Mitch said, one of the best teams in Europe. And like everybody has said, probably the team in England that's going to really push Manchester City, the best team on earth. They're going to push them, and we just beat them. And so we shouldn't just go, oh, let's be all, you know, magnanimous about it and go, yeah, but we got the rub of the green. Well, you know, next week we won't get the rub of the green. And so let's take time to appreciate that. The big talking points, I think, that are going to be moving this team forward, to Mitch's point, we still haven't seen the best of Angeball, but we have to give him an opportunity where he turns around and does look on the bench and go, who do I have here that I can improve? Yep. It was nice to see the young Argentinian lad, what's his name, Vilés or something like that.
Vilés, Vilés. Yeah.
Lovely to see him come on. I'd like to see Brian Hill given a bit of an opportunity, you know, and again, in an Ange system, he doesn't need to be that kind of heavyweight. I still think, you know, man needs to go to the gym. I still think he needs to go and just put on a few pounds. But, you know, we have an opportunity to develop some more talent. And if anyone's going to do it, I think it's Ange. And then if we bring in another two, I think 2 in January is probably realistic. I know people saying, oh, we need this, we need this, we need this, we need this. Let's be realistic and say if we could bring in another 2 and then develop another couple that we've got on the bench, we'll be in really good shape, man.
Joe, I've got to try and keep my composure here, only because I keep seeing these Liverpool comments coming through, just absolutely abusing us.
Guys,
trying to say that when you get a win, when you get a win like that, it's just water for ducks back. I've got to be honest with you. You know, I'm with 3 regular returning guests the last one.
Also, none of us are saying that we were, you know, that we deserve to have those decisions go away. We're just saying that's the game.
The problem is also. I don't know if you agree. I've got it in my kind of, I've got it in the Liverpool accent. People are going to hear absolute shite, and they're just going off again and just losing their load. It's just, I've got to say, it's absolutely superb. I'm loving it. I've not been stopped smiling for the last hour here.
It's pantomime, Rick. It's pantomime.
Russ, this is what you're made for on the radio. This is what it's all about. This live interaction with football fans, superb.
It's okay.
Before we do go for this next break of the show, I do just want to mention, obviously, Sonny's goal, and that did put Spurs in front. It was, I've got to say, come back around to you, Russ, an absolutely delightful, wonderful through ball from James Maddison. Richarlison will claim the assist with a lovely, smart centre for Son to tap it home. Again, timing of it occurred 2 minutes after the Diaz effort had been ruled out. Yes, I'm probably saying that to wind up Liverpool fans even more. But it was Russ, Son's 6th league goal of the season. He got 10 last year in total. How important, Russ, is this? The fact that he's getting goals, big goals against big clubs, crucial moments of the season. Is this the Son we need to see, especially playing down the middle, Russ, confidence-wise?
Absolutely it is. And the finish was a lot cuter than you've just described there, actually, Rick. I think you've done him down a little bit. And nice one there, 𝐂𝐤𝐿𝐿. It's pantomime.
Very good.
No, it's not.
Oh, no, it's
yes,
not.
it is. He's very, very important for us. And I prefer him down the middle. Always have done, as opposed to out wide. Richarlison got that job today. I still do think we need a striker, and hopefully that'll be addressed in January. Veliz has come in from Argentina, but he's very, very young. But we need Sonny. We rely on him. And somebody was saying that he was a little bit sort of gingerly getting onto the bench after he came off. At the end of the game, he was walking completely unaided, clapping, smiling. So fingers crossed he's not picked up an injury that's going to stop him turning up at Luton in the next game. So I just think he's a pivotal part of what Tottenham Hotspur Football Club is as an attacking force, particularly now Harry Kane obviously is playing his trade in Germany. And instead of being out there all the time on the left and always being under pressure, apart from when he cuts in and scores some screamers, to try and find Harry Kane, that pressure isn't there anymore. And he's got every trick in the book, Sonny. And the last 2 goals he scored for us, I think, have both been absolutely fantastic. The work of a man who's still playing at the very top of his game. He's vital for us.
Oh, man. Now, I've got to say, we've got a huge growing contingency of South Korean fans that follow Last Word on Spurs. So I've got to say again, thank you so much to those that do listen to us from overseas or in Korea. We do love you all. And thank you for Sonny. We'll say thank you for Sonny. TJ, I'm sure you're going to, again, give some love to Sonny as well. He's now scored 22 Premier League goals against the rest of the big 6. 6 for his Arsenal, 6 for his Liverpool, 4 versus United, 2 respectively versus Chelsea, as well as Chelsea and City as well. It's goals in back-to-back games against Arsenal and Liverpool. He is the man, TJ, for the big occasion. He's coming that way, isn't he?
Yeah, he is the man. And I've said this on this show many times. He's out and out my favourite Tottenham player, and has been pretty much since his arrival. I've always admired and appreciate players that play with a smile on their face, and there's no smile broader or brighter than Sonny's. I have to say as well, he's really embraced the role of being captain, not just with his performances on the pitch. I think somebody posted in the comments, some terribly clever person commented that it might have been his 200th goal in Europe. Like 200 goals, is that right? You're nodding your head, Russ. Yeah,
200 goal in European club football. Yes, that's correct.
I mean,
that includes Germany, doesn't it?
It does,
right. Yes, it does. Yeah. And still going strong. And also, there were a lot of comments that I was reading on X. I can't get used to calling it that this week, with the younger players, Mickey van der Ven, Vicario, Sarr, all commenting that Romero, all commenting that Sonny was such an enormously welcoming, warm, accommodating influence, even before he was the captain. Just really making time just to make sure that people feel comfortable and welcome. And as we've seen, that's so terribly important for so many players. Do you remember how long it took Eric Lamela to settle in at the club? Because the culture was so difficult for him. The club flew over his entire family. They stayed with him for 6 months, yada, yada, yada. Mitch was talking about the fine margins at the upper echelons of sports. And so if something's going to knock you 3 or 4% negatively, that's going to have a huge, huge impact on your game. And so I truly believe that just the warmth, generosity of spirit, authenticity of Sonny has had such a wonderfully galvanizing effect on this team. He's wearing the captain's armband. He's a heart on his sleeve type person, the sweetest, loveliest chap that you would ever meet. And he's the captain of our club. And we're now a really young team. And so honestly, I'm so full of praise and love and admiration for Sonny. Like an incredible human being and a footballer, but in that order: human being first, lovely, lovely man.
Yeah, I mean, Mitch, just to follow on with you on Sonny, he's now scored 109 Premier League goals, which means he does overtake Peter Crouch's record of 108. Mitch, have you been surprised the fact that transition down the middle, many have argued the fact they will get joy against the teams like Burnley, with no disrespect to Burnley, but against the bigger sides, he's going to struggle. Well, he's done it now against Arsenal. He's done it now against Liverpool back-to-back. How important is that for his confidence? And also for the fact that, as fans now, do you think that we can firmly believe the Sonny of, I don't want to bring his name up, sorry, of Antonio Conte's era, where he did finish the Golden Boot winner. Is that realistically possible again, Mitch, do you think?
Yes, I actually think that this is the biggest season for Sonny in his Spurs career, because I guess maybe James Maddison to an extent as well, but he is the one that's had to pick up that mantle from Harry, and he's done it so well so far. Maybe it was a bit of a slow starter this season. I think a few players were, but obviously they've gotten into their groove now, and Sonny has been, at the head of it. He has found a way to drive forward in games. He's able to, even create goals, but he seems to be finding himself in all of the right positions. His positioning in the box is something that I've noticed has really, really improved recently. I guess he has been playing with Harry Kane for a number of years, so he will have picked stuff up off of him in how to move and attack the box. That comment that you've just put on the screen there, Ricky, from King Hoddle, 151 goals for a player who isn't an out-and-out number 9.
That's
is magnificent.
Unbelievable.
We talk about the great winners in European football. You talk about your likes of Mohamed Salah. And I don't know what your guys' thoughts on it, but I think for the majority of his career, Heung-min Son is someone's having that conversation. I know he hasn't got the accolades and the medals to necessarily back up that claim, but people eventually came round to see that Harry Kane's one of the best strikers in the world, and I think Sonny deserves to be in that conversation when it comes to talking about wide players.
I agree. I think a lot of it as well, Mitch, is down to nationality. Unfortunately, if he was Portuguese or Spanish or French or Italian, it's a different conversation. I honestly think that his race, his nationality, has got a lot to do with why he's not given the accolades that he should. And again, if you talk to people, ask Pep Guardiola what he thinks of Sonny. I heard a rumbling last week that Real Madrid are looking at Sonny. I honestly think it's because he's Korean that a lot of the time people don't give him the amount of praise that he not only deserves, that he's earned. Just look at his numbers. Football is always going to be open to interpretation. Of course it is. It's not an exact science. But you know what is an exact science? Maths. Look at his numbers. He's world class.
If you look at his catalogue of goals as well that he scored for Spurs, he scored every single type of goal under the sun, hasn't he? He scored from outside of the box, from miles out. He's run the length of the pitch and scored. He scored from 6 yards, been in the right position. So
he's world class, mate.
Yes, he is. He is. And it was interesting when Ange came to the club, he also spoke, TJ, as you bring up nationality, about the lack of knowledge in British football about Japanese players.
Yes.
And he talked about, obviously, the boy that is knocking the goals in like mad at Celtic still, Matuma at Brighton. He said, I knew how good he was, and we tried to get him, but we couldn't get him, because Brighton, we know what Brighton are like at recruitment. So I think our game has to wake up to literally all four. We call it the four corners of the world. It's really the four circles, isn't it?
Yes. Well,
and who's out there?
Just reminded us he's a Puskas winner.
Yes.
The goal against Burnley.
Yeah.
Puskas.
Yeah. It was sensational. Yeah, wasn't it? And the only thing I would say, if you compare Sonny with Salah, is that Salah's first touch, close control on first touch of the football, I think is better than Sonny.
Yeah,
that's the only thing.
I think we can all agree.
Rick, where
gone.
Are you?
Am I back, guys? Sorry, might have been a bit of a flick. Might have been a bit of a flicker there. Apologies. I'm back. Liverpool fans tried to do around me. You not get rid of me. I'm sorry, you Liverpool fans. They tried. I was going to say there, sorry, Liverpool fans, you won't like this either. There was a bizarre yellow card for Destiny Udogie after he clearly won the ball in a change with Gakpo. I don't know what the referee was thinking then. But 10 men Liverpool do equalise in first half stoppage time to come around to you, Mitch. As the ball fell close to Gakpo in the box, I think he was given way too much space in the box to swivel and fire a powerful shot home from close range. Spurs will maybe feel aggrieved as the move did start when Diogo was penalised for that booking. For a change, I did say again, he appeared to win the ball very, very cleanly. But overall, Mitch, do you feel that Spurs, did we go a bit complacent after that red card and goal? It just felt maybe the fact Liverpool we've seen, they've come from three times behind this season already to win. Do you think maybe Spurs took their foot off the gas after going 1 up?
I do. And I think the other thing with the whole situation is I've watched Liverpool in that situation before, and they can be absolutely lethal on the counter-attack when they're down a man. So I think there was a bit of concern there as well, because we obviously play attacking football as it is. I think the worry of committing maybe an extra body or two forward when we've got the man advantage, it sort of left us open, and it did keep happening after they went down to 10 men. You know, Salah did keep getting himself in space, and they were breaking, and they did look like, and eventually did, you know, score from it. And yeah, the Gakpo goal, who I know he obviously hurt himself scoring it as well, and I do hope he's all right. But I agree with you. I think he was given a bit too much time to turn and fire that. I feel a sense of deja vu with that goal, because I feel like I've seen it before. You get a cross into the box, somebody finds himself with space from the opposition, and they're able to turn and shoot, and it's gone in. I feel like I've seen Spurs concede that goal so many times, and I don't know if it's a thing that is planned, like don't lunge into challenges in the penalty box, just try and get your body in front of it. I don't know if people are scared of giving away penalties with how easily they can be given away this season. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying, Ricky. I think it was a little bit complacent, and we did take our foot off the gas to an extent. We obviously had to be careful, because it's not a guarantee you're going to go on and win the game if you're playing against 10 men, especially against one of the top teams in the league. But at the same time, it did just look a little bit like they were taking it easy. Okay, we're going to really control the ball now. We know we're going to have, you know, at least 70% possession for the rest of this game. So we'll be patient and we'll see what we can do. And it almost felt like you were relying on a little bit of magic from someone like Basuma to drive through the compact sort of defence and midfield that Liverpool had, or you're looking for James Maddison to pick out that perfect ball, which he was trying to do, but Liverpool just defended so narrowly and so well that it was a little bit difficult. And I think
they were both doing that more effectively when it was 11 on 11, no, Mitch?
Yeah,
like, I would say for some reason we seem to find more space when it was 11 on 11.
That's because they're obviously willing to commit more bodies forward at that point, and you know what their fullbacks are like. They like to get really high. You know, Joe Gomez, I don't think the natural right back was so high up before they went down to 11 men. But as the games go on and you've got the man advantage and you sat there and you still haven't found a breakthrough, I think players will tell you that complacency sets in and you start to get a little bit worried. You're thinking, nothing we're trying's working, and your ideas sort of go out the window, and that's where you need your subs to come in and make a difference.
I mean, speaking of subs, you know, like Russ was making the point, and you make the point just now, Mitch. I mean, so a friend of mine was texting me just before the show started, you know, what happened with Darwin, with Nunez, why didn't he start? And he injured himself in the warm-up, right? So Gakpo comes on, and then Gakpo injures himself, and Jota comes on. Like, that's your third string, and you know, he's a Portuguese international with, you know, God knows how many goals under his belt. Remember how last time as well, lads, we were talking about we have to become that club that world-class players believe in enough that they're happy to come and not start.
Yep. Spot.
You know what I mean? Like, we have to become that club.
Yep.
You know, under Ange, I think there are a lot of people who, you know, everybody watches the Premier League, right? Everybody watches the Premier League. And I think that most players out there, hand on heart, that's the league that they want to go and play in. And so I think that there's going to be a lot of young, exciting players out there who go, you know what, I actually fancy going there. Whether you start or whether you don't start, that's going to be absolutely fundamental to our development, to our recruitment, and to the philosophy and the culture of the club, that players come and think, I'm probably not going to start here, but under this manager, I will have an opportunity. And again, just to hark back to Sonny, you know, how much I love the guy. That's why having a warm and authentic, embracing culture at the club will also be really, really important, because we need to bring in quality players who are going to be prepared to sit on the bench.
Spot on. No, I do agree. If you want to build that squad, as we say, and as I think Russ alluded to tonight, you look at the squad depth there, quite frankly, that is a concern. We'll come on to that very, very shortly. that we will need more, for certain we will. Just picking up before we go to our next break of the show, Sonny coming out afterwards saying, I think the victory became more special because we scored in that last attack for 2 consecutive home games. I was very impressed by the players' sacrificial spirit and their refusal to give up until the end. I really want to say thank you to everyone who worked hard until the very, very end. Lovely words there from Sonny, who, look, quite frankly, is becoming more and more captain-like per game. I think we'll all agree on that. And Ange actually said on Sonny, look, he wasn't 100% coming into the game, but I had a chat with him yesterday. He was so desperate to play. He was going to give whatever he could, and he did. He was never going to play the whole 90. We were always going to give him an hour or so, but he led from the front again, and he was one doing the pressing. He got his goal, so well done to him. A real captain's effort from him. And again, I think the fact Ange not mentioning any concern of an injury there should hopefully allay our fears. Ange himself was asked, have you got your breath back? He went, me, yeah. I wasn't running. I'm all right. It was a fairly eventful finish again, and obviously pleased to come out on the positive side of this. And finally, Russ will take us into this break with a lovely comment from Ange, who was asked the question on the momentum behind this Spurs team with the support at the moment. And he said, look, it's important. We're still a team in its infancy in terms of the way we want to play, the age, the experience of the group. The support behind us at home the last 2 games has been unbelievable. The energy it's given to the lads, we're going to need that going forward. We'll have more challenges, and particularly having the support behind us at home will make a big difference. I think I've asked you this already, Russ, but to cover it just one final time, that support they are getting at home, you can't tell me now there won't be a belief on the back of Sheffield United, on the back of Liverpool, 96-minute winner, 100th-minute winner now.
Yeah.
Those fans are going to keep believing right until the very, very end. Before that whistle is blown, Spurs can win any game, providing they're still in it, right?
Well, we've got a new way of playing this season, and I think we've got a new way of supporting as well, which is so good to hear, see. I've always loved our away support. I mean, they are absolutely brilliant, traveling the length and breadth of the country and having a lot of rubbish to deal with usually. And, some great results like that famous one at Leicester, of course, which was one of my favourites. But anyway, but I think that Ange has got us thinking about our club, seeing what he thinks about football and how we're progressing. And I think even the fans are more confident. It was really toxic last season under Mourinho towards the end, just unhelpful, even under Nuno. And we have got, I'm convinced of it, a different support now. They're the same fans, it's just they think differently, positively, me lad.
I do agree. Listen, what we are going to do, we are going to go for our next break of the show. For our listeners and audio, I've got to say there's been about 4,000 to 5,000 of you that are watching Last Word on Spurs at the moment on every different platform you're on. Again, thank you so much for all of your incredible support for the show. And that goes to Liverpool fans as well. We've had some nice comments come in, not many, I've got to say. Probably 10% nice comments for Liverpool fans. We're joined by the superb Russ Williams, the brilliant Mitch Fretton, and the ever so delightful, the incredible TJ Ramini back on this Last Word on Spurs as we try and reflect on Spurs grabbing that last-minute winner against Liverpool, which propels us temporarily up to second in the Premier League. We remain unbeaten along with Arsenal on a weekend which we've seen Man City suffer their first Premier League defeat. And look, quite frankly, I know people out there saying, could we, should we, would we? It is still early. Ange will keep his feet on the ground, that's for sure. But when we look at that second half, there was a stunning save from Maddison to zip away Maddison's culling effort. And again, another terrific save after that from Son's volley. And it just felt Spurs at that point were building some form of momentum. Sarr then a shot from outside the box, which went down the middle, and Alisson held on to it. Spurs had the ball in the net again. Subsequently after that, Maddison playing a lovely ball, but Richarlison was well offside. But again, we saw Son fire it fire it into the net, but it was offside. Solomon then come on for Son, and which again now, as we've heard from Ange there, does make sense. He felt obviously Sonny couldn't do the full 90. And then again, moment of madness coming around to you, TJ. Liverpool down to 9. Jota shown 2 yellow cards for fouls and Udogie, respectively, in quick succession. I mean, the second was a daft challenge. And to be fair, it could have also gone into the book earlier for one on Basuma. So I think on this one, Liverpool fans, they can't really have much of an argument, TJ, can they?
I'm sure they can and will.
Yeah, I'm sure they can, but you get my point, right?
Yes, I do get your point. Of course I do. And the point that we've been making for almost an hour and a half now is that that's football. Sometimes you get the decision, sometimes you don't. Sometimes they're marginal, sometimes they're outrageous. And today there were just a couple. I mean, to be honest, I only think there's one that they need to feel aggrieved about, and it is a big one, was the Diaz goal. That did look onside to me. They didn't draw the lines. I don't know why. I wasn't at the game. I don't work for the PGMOL. I'm here to talk about Tottenham. And again, next week, I'm sure on the show, Rick, you'll have another panel of people on here, and we'll be talking about VAR decisions that didn't go our way. Again, there was a decision today, like Mitch said, to the lead up to their first goal. There was a foul on Udogie. We didn't get the decision. They went on and scored. Oh, Tottenham. Oh, goodness. It's a conspiracy. It isn't a conspiracy. VAR is a flawed system, a flawed technology which needs improving. I'm bored talking about it. Like, you know, I want us to celebrate our victory and to focus on what we've done today, which was toppling one of the best sides in Europe. Yes, against 9 men, but we looked better when it was 11 on 11. So again, I don't think that holds much water either. You know, this is something that we've been trying to achieve for 6 years. We have now beaten every single club at the Tottenham Stadium. Like, Liverpool were the only club that we couldn't beat, and now we've beaten them. So hands in the air. Come on, you Spurs. That's what I'm here for. Come on, Angeball. Bring it on. Who's next? Luton, bring it on. I mean, you know, go from Liverpool to Luton. No disrespect to Luton. But like, you can go and lose anywhere. City just lost to Wolves. Yeah. So, you know, we're 7 games unbeaten. That's never happened to us. Let's celebrate this moment. And like Russ said, they're the same fans behaving differently. They're behaving differently because they feel differently. We all feel differently. And so lean into that, guys. Enjoy it.
Liverpool's dog was that?
Your day today, guys. Sorry.
It wasn't. I haven't got one here. Was it yours?
There was a dog barking.
It's not Lily's Liverpool fans. It's not Lily's Liverpool fans, is it?
I don't know. It certainly wasn't my dog. Look, behaving itself.
It was probably my dog. I couldn't even hear her because I was on a rap. Probably barking at me. Keep it
You've
down.
only been hacked, Rick.
I've got to say, that dog must be a ventriloquist. His mouth didn't even move when it was barking.
I know.
Sitting
there, lovely.
Very well trained.
Yeah.
Honestly, and it's come back from an injury as well, I must say. Yes. Right, Russ, let me come round to you if I can. We saw obviously Liverpool then strip a lot of players, not quite literally strip. They got them obviously ready to come on. Darwin Núñez was stripped ready to come on, but Klopp then brought on Endo, Alexander-Arnold, Konate with Salah withdrawn, and Liverpool effectively going to play 5 defenders and 3 midfielders. And it really was, as you would call it, shut up shop time. Spurs then responded with Skip and Davies replacing Sarr and Udogie. The latter, as we know, definitely took a few whacks on that pitch. And then that followed with 𝐂𝐤𝐳𝐿 and �ερ𝐵𝐸 on for Maddison and Basuma. Now, again, it's good that football isn't judged on social media, because in that 25 minutes, I saw even Mitch saying, I'm getting highly annoyed by the changes. Yeah. But look, we've got to be able to say, look, if we're going to be honest, that it wasn't great at all in that final 20-25 minutes. You know, we had 11 versus 9, but Spurs did look at times utterly uninspiring and rusty. And you would question really who he's playing with the 9 men. We had a period where the wingers just looked so poor. And we had half an hour against 9 men to create. And to be fair, up until that last minute, as I said, the show narrative changes completely with, of course, the winner. But does it worry you, Russ, to try and bring some fair balance here, that ultimately we do need to work on, again, having those key players missing? Or is it a case of just getting through to January and then seeing what we do need to do and where we're at?
I think it's a little bit of both, but I think it's a big bit of January and next summer and the transfer window for Spurs. We just looked bemused, really. I mean, all we wanted to do was play narrow, which suited Liverpool, rather than use the width. You know, we talked earlier about, you know, 𝐂𝐤𝐬𝐿, good old Decky, you know, we know what he's going to do 9 times out of 10, you know, with the ball, he's going to cut inside, either have a shot if we're lucky, because usually he's pretty good at that, or pass it across the box. You get to Manners Solomon, who's quick. Boy, he's quick. But there is a reluctance. And I don't know what that reason is. Is it that he's coming on as a substitute and is thinking, oh, I don't want to mess things up. You know, I want to maybe get a chance to start a few games. But he would always just run, stop, pass back, you know, or sideways. There would be no attempting to get to the byline, get a good cross into the area. And to be honest with you, that's what Richarlison needs, really. I mean, look at the goals that he scored for us. Not that many, admittedly, but headers. And, you know, he'll get his head in there on a cross, and who knows, you know, he could have had another very good night. So I think that's where we went slightly wrong. I would have thought because we had so much of the ball and we were attacking and attacking and attacking, you get some physical fatigue as well as mental fatigue. But I'm sure that Ange and the coaching staff will be looking back at the videos and saying, look, guys, we have to go down there and cross the ball, get behind them, rather than all this in front of them. It did remind me a little bit of Conte ball, actually.
It's funny you said that, Russ, because to me it brought up memories of Conte turning to Tanganga and Davis when Spurs needed a goal against Marseille in the Champions League.
Exactly. I mean, we were all sort of going, what is he doing? Now, we either trust Ange, and I think at the moment we all do, and I think we will do come what may this season. But when I look at, we went through the starting 11 earlier in the show, if people have just joined us, very happy with the starting 11. And I said to the boys and the listeners and the viewers, the only thing I thought was, let's see if we can keep them all on the pitch for 90 minutes, because the bench does not, in terms of experience or inspiration, look that good. And I stick by that. And that is where the problem is. It's an old problem that we've got. It's getting slightly better. Let's be positive. But it's the depth of the squad that is going to stop us competing at the very, very highest level. And that's going to take a few transfer windows, in my opinion, to sort out. But sort it out we will.
Yeah, I mean, just on that point, Mitch, to bring you in, and we're gonna glorify the winner in a second here. And don't worry, everybody, we're gonna get you away from Match of the Day. Don't panic, we are gonna get you away from Match of the Day. Mitch, tell me your thoughts. Are you concerned about the alarming drop-off when it goes from the core, I would say, 12, 13 players, then when you look at that bench? And I mean that with no disrespect, that the fact that, again, Solomon, who I think is a good squad player, it would alarm me if we're going to have a run where we're going to need to rely on him for 7-8 games. And again, I may not have seen his total potential in a Tottenham shirt. Veliz, young kid, comes with a massive potential. Again, are we going to have to rely on him? Richarlison, we know really his best record in Premier League-wise is 15 goals in a season. It's his highest tally. Are you concerned, Mitch, between now and January that we've got enough to keep this momentum going?
That's a very good question, actually. And my answer is yes. And my reasoning for that answer is purely based on the fact that we've only really got to play one game a week. If we were in Europe, I would say we are going to pick up injuries and our squad is going to be thin very quickly. But I think the way that we're able to sort of nurture and look after our players and have them playing just once a week at the moment is going to be really beneficial to us as we progress further in the season. However, we do have some serious work that we need to do in the January transfer window, because you've got to bear in mind that, we've got is it AFCON and the Asian Cup coming up, and there's going to be all sorts of issues within the squad, and you've got to account for injuries. I mean, James Maddison picks up a knock every now and again for Leicester, so it's likely that at some point, just with the way that he plays and the way that he moves on the pitch, he's going to pick something up. Basuma, you never know with him. He had a nasty injury last season, so is something similar going to happen? So you lose those two players, and you're right. You look at the rest of the squad there, and you're sort of a bit like, oh, how are we going to cope without them? However, like we've already talked about, we do still have some players to come back, and we have to at some point factor in the return of Rodrigo Bentancur, because it's been a long time now since he played for Tottenham, and people, I don't know if they've necessarily forgotten how good he was for us, but a lot has changed since Rodrigo Bentancur last played in a Spurs shirt. And I only think that the system that Ange plays and is going to suit him, and the way that he likes to play, the way that he likes to get forward and move the ball. So I think it's a bit of, a balanced scale, if you will, because although the squad at the moment looks quite thin, when you get your injuries back, we don't know what sort of value Ryan Sessegnon going to have under Ange Postecoglou yet. And I know I can see DJ sort of like shaking his head a little bit, and I'm probably in the same boat there. I'm not necessarily convinced by him, but it only takes one manager to change a player and change what they can do. So you've got to give every single player a chance. And, you know, another thing that I've sort of wondered about and a bit interested about is the whole Reguilón thing, who obviously has gone on loan to Manchester United. And there was talk of United wanting to only loan him for 6 months and then cancel it in January. And, you know, he's been one of their best players since he's been over there. So is there a chance at a redemption for that when we get to that time of year? There's a lot of questions to be answered, I think. And I think if I were to give an overall assessment, I am a little bit worried as to what's going to happen if one of our key players gets injured, because you're right, the drop-off in quality between those starting 12, 13 players compared to the rest of the squad is perhaps still a bit too big. But we couldn't really expect all of that to be solved in one transfer window. We've got to give the time. So that's what makes these victories today even sweeter, because you've got to take the points when you can get them. And when you're beating the teams like Liverpool, you got to enjoy it, because it's not necessarily going to be like that for the whole season. You know, we can have a laugh and a joke and say, yes, Spurs, you know, could we win the title? Obviously, that's let's be realistic, not going to happen. But, you know, we got to enjoy it, and we've got to make the most of it, because I think we all know, being Spurs fans for many, many years, that it's always some good and then some bad. I mean, I'm more than willing for Ange to change that and have good all the time. But you know, I think it's wise to be a little bit cautious about what could still happen for the rest of the season.
I agree, Mitch. I do agree. TJ, I just want to, again, similar lines to you, as we've kind of touched upon here. You know, my worry is an injury to Van de Ven, Romero, Maddison, Son. And we've really touched upon it, that we've seen the drop-off in relation to what it looks like when those players aren't on the pitch. Are you fairly confident that we can battle our way through to January? I think what we're looking at, 15 games. It might be less than that, 13 games until that window reopens. Can we battle our way through and still be in this same position, keeping this same spirit, this same belief as to what's happening right now? Because I don't know about you, TJ, I just want to really bottle this, because it is just such an incredible feeling that we all generally believe here. There's something going on, right? Something special's happening here.
Yes, there is something going on. Speaking of, I think you're frozen, mate. You've got an absolutely beautiful portrait of yourself, classic blue steel. I mean, you look absolutely like Zoolander incarnate. But you might
I'll come back. I'll come back and let you carry on.
You look gorgeous. So do a screenshot and then come back. But I mean, I'm even nervous to talk about it. Really, you know, kind of the whole idea of not wanting to tempt fate. Can we make it through to January without sustaining injuries in key positions? I mean, listen, when it comes to Van de Ven, I don't know enough about him. I don't know enough about his kind of injury record up until now to know. He's come from a very physical league, you know, in Germany. And also, what is he, 20, 21? And so even if he does get a knock or something, hopefully he'll be able to run it off, you know, relatively quickly. Romero, we had injuries with him last season. And of course, you know, every time Argentina are involved in anything, he's going to go and play. And also the guy only knows how to play one way, you know, pedal to the metal, go for it, you know, to make the Liverpool fans happy. Heavy metal football, to quote Mr. Klopp. So that could be an issue for us. But like I said, it's just going to have to be one of those things. We're just going to have to roll the dice. You know, we don't have any other options. As far as Reguilón, I mean, Reguilón's injured now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, injured for United.
Right.
So,
yep.
I mean, listen, man, we don't have Europe, right? We don't have Europe. And guess what, Rick? We don't have the Carabao Cup. Sorry to break that to you, but we're actually out, mate. I know you didn't know that. You never talk about it or think about it. But
never. So quite never. So, never. You're right. Never.
Yeah, you're right. Must have slipped your memory. But so, you know, can we make who can say? You know, who can say? The thing is that how we play as well, we shift that ball quite quickly. So that tends to not open you up to too many kind of crunching injuries and tackles, because you've moved the ball that quickly. So before the opposing player has even reached you, you've moved it on. But if we were to lose Romero or VDV or Biss, Maddison, even Sonny, like again, we just talked about Liverpool. Oh, you lost Nunes. Oh, no problem. Gakpo comes on. Oh, you lost Gakpo. No problem. Jota comes on. We're nowhere near that yet. So it could be problematic for us. Yeah.
Great point. Guys, before I do just do to give a couple of minutes to some individuals that haven't had the chance to be spoken about on this show, which rightly do deserve that moment. Russ, let me come round to you to just give me your thoughts on the winner, because it was Spurs winning it at the absolute death. Pedro Porro whipping in that low cross and Matip deflecting it into the roof of his own net. And forgive me, because all I would hear or many that were coming back from the game would have just heard Gary Neville just sympathising with Liverpool for the fact that they defended so heroically for that final 20, 25 minutes, and how sad and disappointing it was that they could not see the game out. So, Russ, I'm sure you'll be a bit more unbiased than Gary Neville. Give me your thoughts on that last-minute winner, which completely sent Spurs fans, rightly so, into absolute raptures as this fairy tale season continues, right?
Well, you know, it's gladiatorial, isn't it? And it was the final blow in what was at times fairly dull encounter, really, for reasons we've discussed. And I thought Pedro Porro was absolutely brilliant tonight. I thought he played outstandingly well. He just gets better and better and better under Ange. And for him to put in a low cross, we didn't do many of those tonight. In fact, I don't know whether it was the first one, but it was certainly the most effective one. Oliver Skipp was standing very close by, and I think Matip thought, blimey, I've got to get, in between him and the ball, quite rightly. And ping, in it went, 3 points, lovely. Sorry, Liverpool, that's football.
Oh, man, totally agree on that point. Listen, lovely moment for the winner. Guys, rightly so, look, we've got to give some shout-outs to some of the real stalwarts in that team that, quite frankly, haven't really been given much of a mention on this show because, again, as always on Last One on Spurs, look, the main highlights of incidents always do get a mention. But we have to start, look, 𝐂𝐻𝐿𝐴, amazing, decent double save from him. That, quite frankly, from the 12th minute onwards, you've got to say, again, another game that he's overcome. Liverpool at home is always a tough game for goalkeepers. I'm sure many will remember Hugo throwing some in during his time. So, look, again, showed some really confident handling when called upon. Couldn't do anything really with Gakpo's finish. So, again, we have to say, terrific performance again from 𝐂𝐻𝐿𝐴. To be fair, like all of us, he's like a fan. He just absolutely revels in it at home. So he was superb. And to put Russ's point there completely once again up there in the headlines for Pedro Porro, so richly deserved from him because he worked so hard in terms of that game, up and down. Very little got past him. He was superb. I mean, on the back four itself, Mitch, to come over to you, maybe just a word on the fact, Romero, another dominant performance from him in what very much had to be, a lot to do because Liverpool did push up in numbers, although they lost some towards the end of the game. He picked up a late yellow card, and Mickey van der Ven, I know it was that kind of rare moment of a wobble in the first half, but look, he was caught out, you'd say, 3 times. First the 𝐂𝐤𝐴𝐨𝐿𝐴 goal, then Gakpo's, and then overall the late signing effort in added time. But I'm sure that many will agree that from that onwards, he improved from then. Destiny Udogie, I think many would say would maybe be disappointed, unfortunate to pick up the booking at the time, and he was, and again, you say there was a foul, definitely foul by Jota for the second yellow card. And, again, got to remember, it was his first time today up against Mohamed Salah. He's not going to face Mohamed Salah every week. He was, I thought, really, really good on the day. And overall for you, Mitch, tell me your back four. Happy with that overall?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've referred to them as this so many times over the last hour and 45 minutes. Liverpool have got one of the best attacking teams in world football. And, we limited them. I think, I can't remember the exact numbers, but I think Salah had either scored or assisted in each of at least Liverpool's last 10, 11, 12 games. And Destiny Udogie put a stop to that today. So it's sort of really impressive. For me, Christian Romero gets better every time I watch him. Every time I sit down and watch a Spurs game, Romero really impresses me. He just looks like he's developing into a fantastic leader for the club. And I think Postecoglou making him one of the vice captains is probably one of the best decisions he's made at the club since he joined, purely just because giving him that added sense of responsibility. And I think he's implemented that into his game and how he plays as well. He's much less rash. He's more composed. He's always looking forward. And, how often do you see Christian Romero go in for a duel to win the ball, whether that be in the air or on the ground, and he loses out? Because, I struggle to think of really any times at all this season that it's happened. So, yeah, I mean, him and Udogie for me, absolutely fantastic. And I think a really special mention needs to be given to Mickey van der Ven because, we've been banging on about centre-backs for the last 2-3 years and the fact that we've needed one. And Mickey van der Ven has come in, he's made that position his own, and he looks to be an absolute class addition to the squad. He's got
So
every
wonderfully reminiscent of Jan as well, no, Mitch?
brilliant, isn't it? He's got
Just brings back those feelings of Jan Vertonghen. Like
he's got everything you would love to have
Yeah.
in a modern centre back. He's got the pace, he's got the technique, he's got the range of passing as well, and just you can see how much everything means to him. I think there's a clip circling on social media at the moment of him just dropping to the ground when we scored that last goal today, which you can see that every single player on the pitch is putting their heart and soul into every performance at the moment. And Pedro Porro, I think, has been superb as well. Consider the fact that the right back position, I think, was maybe one on the pitch that Ange wasn't too sure about when he came into the club. Who's going to play there, Pedro Porro or Emerson Royal? Obviously, Emerson Royal played one of the early games, and then Pedro Porro sort of came in, and he's really stamped his authority on that position. And bear in mind that Emerson Royal was on a really good bit of form at the end of last season, and he hasn't been awful in the games that he has played for Spurs this season. So again, he adds something else. I think with Udogie, you're going to get pace, you're going to get power, you're going to get someone that can break the line and run in and pass players. And with Pedro Porro, you're going to get the technique and the ability to whip in a decent cross or find the pass in the box, or even have a shot on goal. We know he likes that. It doesn't necessarily always hit the target, but there's that aspect of it as well. So I think the main thing for me with the back four is just it's incredibly balanced at the moment. There's a good mix of everything you want. And the good thing is we're not shipping hauls of goals like I think a lot of people maybe expected us towards the start of this Postecoglou era.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, Mitch, I totally agree. Look, just on that midfield to cover it off, I can come round to you, TJ. Pat Matissar, look, again, he had a couple of decent efforts on goal. What I would call this one is a bit of an industrial performance from him. He wasn't, the most elegant, but again, he was really effective in that game. Bissouma, we mustn't forget, took a big hit early on from Jones on the leg, which obviously resulted in that red card, but look, he brushed it off. It was another real strong showing from Bissouma. I must make a point. He did pick up the fourth yellow card of the season already for him, which does mean he's walking a little bit of a tightrope now for what I believe is a remaining 12 games between now and, of course, when that ban would potentially expire. So it is one to keep an eye on because, again, Bissouma has been formidable for Spurs this season. James Maddison, of course, vital in that opening goal for Spurs. Again, really making that point for him. I think many would have picked up on the fact that maybe his set pieces wasn't as great as what they've been in previous weeks. But look, again, the fact, again, Maddison on the pitch makes things happen. It did for the first goal. I mean, overall, from a midfield perspective, TJ, you've got to be good against Liverpool. And overall, I thought our players, apart from that 25 minutes in the second half, they were fairly decent, weren't they?
Yes. Yeah, fairly decent. And again, they're not going to be spellbindingly brilliant with every passing minute through every game. I mean, we have waxed lyrical about Bissouma on here before, and I certainly have. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a better central midfielder in the league right now. We talked about if Caicedo is 140 million, Bissouma is 200 million. He's just such a classy player. He's just so casual, so relaxed. The way that he can touch the ball with such delicacy and turn in such a tight circle with either foot. And that's a really, really important trick to have in your locker, especially if you're playing that position, that pivot, right? Either way. Reminiscent of Modric. I might have told you this before, Rick, when Modric was at Tottenham many years ago and they came over here, they were in California and they went to go and play against the San Jose Earthquakes up in Northern California. And I was on 24 at the time, and I'd just done an interview for the Tottenham magazine. And they called me and said, listen, we're going to be in California. Would you like to come and see the game? And I said, oh, of course. And I went to go and watch the game. And it was so sort of wonderfully disorganized. When I got to the pitch up at San Jose, it wasn't I didn't have a ticket. Like there was nowhere for me to kind of sit. So one of the people just went, oh, sorry, mate. And I said, oh, no, it's fine. Just, tell me where to stand or whatever. And they literally just got a director's chair and put it on the halfway line. And so I was 5 feet away from Luka Modric, Gareth Bale. Like it was unbelievable. And something that I really gained by being that close to arguably one of the greatest central midfielders of all time in Luka Modric was to see how he handles the ball with that beautiful delicacy, whether it's the top of his foot, the side of his foot, the outside of his foot. And Bissouma has that quality. So I thought he was excellent today. I have to agree and say it's between kind of Porro and Vicario for my man of the match, actually. But I think that we handled ourselves very well against quality opposition. And again, we've been saying all show, Mitch said it, Russ said it, you said it yourself, that Liverpool are, you kind of have to say, are they the best counter-attacking team now in English football? The fact that both of their fullbacks and even their centre-backs can ping a 60, 70-yard ball diagonal, and you've either got, Mo Salah picking it up on one side, or Jota or Gakpo picking it up on the other side. Beautiful first touch, exquisite first touch, and they're through on goal. So I think we handled ourselves well, and listen, ultimately did enough to earn the win, right? So
we did indeed. Yeah, I mean, again, many pick up on that front three. I mean, 𝐂𝐻𝐭𝐬 for large parts. Again, we had some of those driving runs from him. I think we have to say, look, I think he did struggle with his quality in the final third in this one. Son, of course, look, got his goal. And as we said earlier, look, he was struggling towards that end of the second half. And then we've heard from Ange, he had to sub him. Richarlison, of course, on the left today, he grabbed that assist with a perfect ball into the path of Son. And look, again, he set up the captain for another in the second half, but it was flagged offside. Richarlison, you just do feel with him, maybe it is a run of games that we do need to see from to kind of bring him in to some kind of form. But look, there's no doubt about it that it was, again, you've got to say today, a team display which everybody had to keep on fighting too late to grab the winner.
Cut the wire again now. They really have. That's it.
They really are
gone,
aren't they? Yeah.
Oh no. Live as well.
Back on.
Oh yes, you're back, Rick.
Oh,
you sound a bit like Norman Wisdom, but anyway. Oh, you're back.
Am I back? Am I back?
Yes, you're back.
I'm back.
Yes.
I'm back. Skippy coming on, obviously, for those final couple of minutes of the games. We had some energy, and Ben Davies coming on to replace Diogo. So, overall, I think we've got to say it's a team performance. Before Liverpool fans do actually cut me off, Russ, we're going to close it with you on a comment from Ange Postecoglou here, who says, look, we want to be a team that has multiple avenues to score goals, and we had to create that because with Harry going, there was a fair chunk of goals leaving this team automatically. We weren't going to replace that with one player. We need to make sure we, as a team, set up to give us the best opportunity to score in different areas. I thought we started the game really well, and so did Liverpool. But overall, I thought it was a good game at the start, and then we went down to 10 men. Until we scored, I really thought we were really good, and we lost our way a little bit. We rushed things, we overdid things. We were a bit too individual in the back end of the first half and allowed them to get an equaliser. The thing about Liverpool is, even with 10 men, they are still the same threat because they prey on mistakes, have world-class players in transition, and were a bit naive. I thought second half we were better. We controlled the game a lot better, played in our half. We were a bit more calm and probably didn't vary our attacks enough. But having said that, Alisson did pull off some unbelievable saves, and we just had to stay calm. So on the back of that, Russ, you tell me, do your expectations for the season change, or are you in exactly the same mindset you was 96 minutes before that game kicked off?
Yeah, exactly the same. Because we're going to play well in some games, we're not going to play well in others. Unbelievably, we are going to lose some games, inevitably. So I have no concerns, really. We're further on than I expected us to be after 7 games. That's for sure. And so, okay. But it's crucial. The squad is crucial going forward. The transfer windows, saying goodbye to some people and hello to really good people. That's what we need.
Amen. Russ, thank you so much. Always a pleasure. Forgive me, Virgin Media, as you will probably have noticed, are doing essential works in the area. What a time to do it. What a day to do it. What a time. Russ, thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
Ricky, thank you.
Enjoyed having you back on at the moment, the way it's going. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I almost feel like a good luck charm this season. I'm sure TJ does as well, and Mitch, because whenever we come on, Rick, you're smiling. And thank you so much for having me on once again. Thank you to the listeners. Thank you to the viewers. And thank you to the wonderful people of Liverpool who've taught us 15 new swear words tonight in the comments on YouTube. Cheers.
It's been an adventure. The listeners and audio are missing out here. I'll tell you in some of the comments we've had. Mitch, been an absolute pleasure bringing you back on for this one. What a result. What a moment. I mean, probably same question to you, Mitch, before we close it. Do your expectations change, or are we going game by game here?
I think, do you know what? My expectations have changed, Ricky, but they've changed from looking at the long-term thing to wanting to just take it game by game. I I just want to watch us every week, and I want to just win that game on the table in front of us. You know, we'll worry about where we're going to finish in the league when it comes. You know, the cup runs are a little bit different, but you know, when you win against the likes of Liverpool, against Manchester United, when you go to the Emirates and you pick up points, just got to savor those moments while they're there and just enjoy this new era that we're in, because, you know, it's fantastic at the moment. Even if we're not playing well, we're picking up wins. And yeah, my expectations haven't changed. But, you know, I'm just enjoying it. I'm just here for the ride at the moment, and it's been brilliant so far.
Oh, mate, listen, we're enjoying it. We're looking forward to having you on a lot more this season. The wonderful Mitch Fretton. Catch him, of course, on the socials, Mitch_Fretton. Mitch, thank you so much. Pleasure to have you back on. TJ, maybe you guys are a good luck charm at the moment. Mate, it's been an absolute pleasure always having you on. Thank you so much for always your ever so eloquent views on Spurs. And it wouldn't be fair if I didn't ask you the same question, where we are right now. And to be fair, you do keep, although you are an emotional guy, you do keep it balanced and calm. So where you are right now, are you still the same in terms of expectations? Or
I mean, listen, like Russ said, you know, who thought that? I don't think there's a Spurs fan on earth that thought we would be where we are after 7 games. We're unbeaten after 7 games and sitting second, you know, just behind Manchester City. Now, I have to admit something, Rick, because we're going to have an exclusive now on this show, like a world exclusive. Okay. I have to admit that for the last like 15 minutes, if the viewers or if you guys have seen me kind of looking down at my phone, I have to admit that I have been on my phone. Now, before the show started, Lee McQueen was posting on social about Ange talking about the Fonz, right? And not having posters of Fonz on his bedroom window, on his bedroom wall anymore. And a bunch of people in the comments have also been posting about happy days and the Fonz. It just so happens that Max Winkler, who's Henry Winkler's son, is a really good friend of mine. I have a football club over here called OGFC. We play every Friday night. I played last Friday. And Max is a blinding right back. He plays for me. He's a lovely, lovely lad, a good friend of mine. So I was talking to Max just this morning about what Ange had said about his father. And his father has just sent this to me. Now, I will be posting this on social at TJ Ramini. I'll be posting on Instagram and also on X. Of course, I'll be posting it to Last Word on Spurs and also to Spurs Official, because this from the man himself. Here we go.
Big Ange, hello from LA, California. Congratulations on your win today. Henry Winkler here, aka the Fonz. So if I signed a poster for you right now, would you put it back on your wall? That is the question. Fair dinkum.
Oh, man.
What an absolute legend.
Wow.
Henry Winkler himself,
Brilliant.
the Fonz, at his house, not more than 5 minutes away from my house, has recorded that specifically for Ange after his big win today. I'm so pleased that I managed to get that done.
That's amazing.
I'm sorry to Dana come on and drop that bomb right at the end of the show.
Amazing.
Brilliant.
I
What a
appreciate the
finale.
exclusive. The Fonz is a Spurs fan. Let's have it.
Come on.
Yay.
What a way to end the show. We've got to get to the Spurs Official. As many people say, that's the content
Absolutely.
right there.
Like I said, I'll be
Absolutely
posting
no
on
way.
Instagram, I'll be posting on X. I'll make sure that it goes to Spurs Official. So guys, make sure that you retweet that and quote it and like it and share it and all that kind of thing. Let's make sure that that gets to Spurs and then we get a response from Ange back to Henry Winkler. How great would that be if he signs a Fonz poster and puts it on his bedroom wall?
Amazing. Well done, mate.
Honestly, amazing.
Brilliant.
TJ, mate, I don't want to say on the back of that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And as always, mate, thank you so much for coming back on.
My pleasure,
We keep
brother.
riding
Thank
the
you
crest
so
of the wave, right, TJ? We just keep riding this wave that we're on and don't let it stop.
Absolutely, man. Bring him on. Bring him on. I mean, look, we're one of the best teams in the country right now. We're riding a wave of confidence. We're playing attractive football. Our fans have changed mentality. The players have changed their mentality, and it is bearing the most wonderful fruit. Come on, you Spurs.
Absolutely. Look, from all of us here, from the wonderful Russ Williams, from the superb Mitch Fretton, from the brilliant TJ Ramini, we have been the last word on Spurs. My God, go and enjoy the highlights. Go and enjoy match of the day. From all of us here, please keep safe, keep well. We're back with you soon. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you